Our next topic is fiscal sustainability. So how would you approach the city's budget to ensure long-term fiscal sustainability? In your view, what spending cuts, revenue increases such as fees or partnerships, or state policy changes are needed to maintain city services without overburdening taxpayers? And what is your position on selling the city's assets? Jeremy, you're up first.
Thank you. So yeah, I've been attending all of the city budget work sessions this year. Even though I'm not on council right now, just because this is a kind of an all hands on deck situation, and luckily we do have some time, and that the city manager was transparent about what we're potentially facing in 2027, and because we need time as a community to like figure this out, right? So one of the big things that is challenging the city's budget is that health insurance increase of 15%, and that's something that all of us are facing right now. And so there's a lot of national forces involved with all this. But yeah, people demand like quality services and infrastructure, so we need to find a way to deliver it the best that we can. And we can't like necessarily continue to raise revenue in all opportunities just because like people can't afford it, and we need to really focus on the cost of living that people are facing, also just a national issue. I would say advocacy on the state level, like I went down to Madison 7 times within the last year to advocate on how we can stand up for ourselves as a community, and it is. So the last part of your question I should get to is, I'm not in favor of like selling, city facilities. I know that there's, there could be some pieces of land that could be declared as excess for housing or for industry or things like that we could see as like opportunities. But I've heard some ideas that I definitely do not like too, like selling, I don't think we're going to be selling like Hobbs Ice Arena or something like that. I would not be in favor of that. Thanks.
Scott.
I think it's absolutely true that Eau Claire's been shortchanged by the state government. And it actually goes back many, many years when shared revenue first started happening, when there was a promise to municipalities that if they didn't impose sales taxes or income taxes, the state would take care of them. And over the years, under both parties, that declined. And then when the idea came up to give 1 cent of the sales tax out to municipal governments in the shared revenue compromise recently, if they had done that and Eau Claire got revenue based on the sales tax collected in Eau Claire, we would have a much better fiscal situation. And I think there's an opportunity as when the legislature convenes again to continue to bring that message forward. I have experience working with both sides of the aisle, and so in state government we can work on that. But in the meantime, we have to find ways to live within our means. I think it's time to take a comprehensive look at the whole budget and not just say, oh, we have $2 million and let's look for some cuts. And I think it's too complicated to identify cuts right now. I do know that one of the ways to bring fresh ideas is to look at other cities where they've meet these kinds of challenges. So there are communities like Fort Collins, Colorado, and Duluth that have undertaken comprehensive looks at things they call outcome-based budgeting or priority-based budgeting. I think there's a place for that. I think there's a place for partnerships and working on ways the city can work with partners, and it's important to improve those. I don't think it's selling off facilities, but there are probably some cost savings, and there was too much of a time pressure with that grant program. And I think we have reached a point where we can't really ask the citizens for more in taxes or fees. And in fact, we need to look at ways to try to roll back those wheel taxes, especially that were just imposed.
And I want to follow up to a question or the whole selling of city assets. I think it deserves a follow-up, and I know it's been a hot topic in the news recently, is the possibility of maybe selling Hobbs Ice Center or the soccer park and other facilities. So we'll start with you, Scott, but how would you approach leveraging the city-owned facilities or the public assets as part of a broader budget strategy? And what would you say to those community members that have a lot of stake, whether it's the figure skating clubs or youth hockey, or, you know, even the university and the high school teams that use the hockey facility and the ones that use the soccer park?
And this is 1 minute?
1 minute.
Okay, so we need to lean into our value of collaboration. And I think there is opportunity, and I've heard from people involved in some of those organizations, to get together and talk about ideas. How can we make these facilities as valuable as possible to our community? And if the city has a burden in terms of funding them, what can we do together to make that work? And it does have to be a win-win proposition. I think one of the things that really needs to be explored is that the city does have a reputation of being hard to work with. And I would want to look into that more. I don't want to just say it's all true. Maybe some of it isn't fair. But being a good partner is going to be an important part of moving forward on that and figuring that out.
Okay, Jeremy.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just at the public discussion on Monday at City Council where there was time specifically set aside to talk about the innovation grant funding that has a very short timeline that the city has been exploring, and you know, and that's where, you know, discussion of, you know, potential user groups or partner organizations like actually operating facilities like came up, and yeah, it's one of those things where I think a lot of people are, it has people's attention right now. So but it's a traumatic thing for a lot of people because the timeline was proposed to be very short. But I think we need to lengthen the timeline and make sure we have some real discussion and are involving people in meaningful and respectful ways. And so really, I think there is a way we can come together and make sure these facilities are funded properly. And I'm excited to figure that out.